Extra, extra, read all about it. It's a brand new movie talk. Welcome to the show, everybody. My name is Mark, and on today's program, we have a new image of Ant-Man and the Wasp, 2 new trailers, and neither one of them is for Han Solo. We have an incredible panel joining me today. Look at all these bright, smiling faces. First off is Kristian Harloff.
My mother hosted movie talk once. Yeah. Once. If you know the reference, good for you.
Nope. Jon Schnepp.
See, I'm coming at you from a friend, with my newsies. Come on, one of your kids, you want to buy my 25 cents,
I don't like what you're doing there.
I'm just hosting movie talk until our boys come back from Germany. Jay Washington.
Extra, extra, read all about it. Ant-Man and Wasp got new photos.
Just throwing newspapers left and right. I am the Nintendo Paperboy. Thank you guys for tuning in today. Very special show we have. And as we kick off, we have some breaking news about Flashpoint. That would be we may have our director or directors, as the case may be. Variety is reporting that, get ready, ladies and gentlemen, the guys who directed Vacation, John Francis Daley and Jonathan Goldstein, are currently in negotiations to direct Flashpoint. That would be the first standalone film with The Flash that will feature Ezra Miller. Interestingly enough, the studio reportedly initially had asked Ben Affleck to return to the director's chair for Flashpoint, but he eventually passed. This comes as Warner Brothers has begun to reshuffle its DC properties, with New Line executive Walter Hamada being promoted to oversee its comic book movies. Jon Schnepp, you hear the news about the guys who did the new Vacation directing Flashpoint. My question to you, is this going to be too comedic in tone?
Well, I mean, because Flashpoint, being offered to Ben Affleck, that is actually up for contention right now. Earlier this morning, Frosty was saying his sources said Ben Affleck was never approached, but Variety saying he was. So I don't know about Ben Affleck or not, but the guys who made Vacation, one of my most hated comedies of that year, I think the movie sucked.
You famously watched it on an airplane and got physically ill.
I got physically ill. It was horrible. It wasn't funny. It was a bummer. And that those guys wrote and directed it. Look, they wrote The Amazing Spider-Man: Homecoming. They've done a bunch of other things. I'm not saying they're not talented or that they can't do this job, but as far as I haven't seen Game Night, so I don't know what all I've seen is Vacation, and that really put me off of their potential to make a Flashpoint film. So for me, when I got this news, call me less than excited.
But is Flashpoint more serious in tone than other Flash runs? I mean, do you think that having a comedic vibe for Flashpoint would be too much of a pendulum shift in the other direction from DC, maybe trying to get away from their dark and gritty tone of movies past?
Wow. I mean, at this point, to be horribly blunt, I don't care. Like, I'm so kind of over it. Like, make it a comedy, whatever. Get those fucking guys, the dangly Vacation dudes. Yay! I feel they should just cancel it.
That's what we love on Movie Talk, opinions or lack thereof due to apathy. Kristian, are you sharing Schnepp's apathetic vibe for this, or do you think that Flashpoint should definitely be more dramatic, or is a comedy tone right for it?
Well, first of all, kid, I like your moxie.
Okay, nobody does it like this. You have to flip it, okay? You have to flip it like that. That's how you do it.
2 bits. Listen, the as far as Vacation go, that movie is what they like to call a garbage fart box. It is one of the worst movies that has ever been put on screen. It's awful. But these guys also did Homecoming, and Homecoming was a really good film. The tone fit. The comedy worked in Spider-Man. So if the mixture alone, with what they're bringing to the table, you can't just, when they were presented Vacation, right? They said, okay, here, what's your take? This is the take, okay? And they directed it one particular way, and it was really bad. And you can judge them for the writing of it because it was garbage. But this movie, if they combine it with Ezra Miller's humor and they don't go over the top with the humor, it could work.
Jay Washington, you seem to think that too funny is not right for Flashpoint.
Well, because I agree with Schnepp. Just burn it all, blow it all up.
But why do you guys want to get rid of it?
Here's the thing. DC is supposed to be dark.
Right.
And because they've totally been trying to shift that, Wonder Woman had the humor to it. Justice League completely shifted all that.
Sure.
And so now they're going in this comedic level, which is the Marvel route. You see what I'm saying? If you're going to be DC, stay the dark route.
Sure.
Don't go back. The Flashpoint Paradox angle is a dark storyline. But if you're going to make comedic, it's going to take, everybody knows, if you've seen that animated film, Wonder Woman and Aquaman kill each other.
Right.
You know, there's violence all through it. And there's nothing comedic about it.
But don't you think they need to stay consistent in tone with what happened? Did you like Justice League? No.
Did you ask me, did I like it?
I don't know.
I mean, no, because I
liked
didn't like it for several reasons, but also because the tone isn't what it's supposed to be.
Yeah.
It's a complete shift in tone. So you shouldn't be trying to make this what should be a dark action film into a comedy. It just doesn't make sense. Yeah, they pinned Spider-Man Homecoming, but that's in the realm of what Marvel does.
Right.
That this isn't that.
Are we not giving them enough credit, though, for being able to have a different take on it than just a straight comedic vibe? Because we've seen people come from the comedy world writing comic book flicks and not just being funny. I mean, the Russo brothers came from something like Community, and Civil War certainly had jokes in it, Schnepp, but it also had a dark, serious political vibe about it. Could that not be the case with Flashpoint?
That could not be the case for Flashpoint, but I got to be honest. They're 2 of the 6 writers of Spider-Man: Homecoming. I mean, it's not that they're they wrote the film. They came up with the story outline for it. And I remember for a while they were vying. They wanted to direct the Spider-Man film. They definitely didn't finish writing Spider-Man: Homecoming, and I'm sure it was heavily polished, because if you take Spider-Man Homecoming and you take Vacation and even just the jokes alone, there's no comparison. So, I mean, look, man, it's like, is the tone going to be different from Justice League to Flashpoint? Obviously, it's going to be a lot different if they have these guys directing it, and if these guys are doing a polish on the script. It only makes sense that they're like, why would they pick these guys? I mean, why would they pick these guys? They're like, hey, let's make it a lighter. Let's have Flash, because Flash in Justice League was at least the comedic relief. And whatever you want to say about the reshoots, they added more humor to it. They definitely did. Look, Justice League is what it is. I didn't hate the film. I actually enjoyed it to a certain degree, as far as just seeing these characters come to life for the first time, as far as being a comic book fan. The story was pretty horrible. The villain was horrible. We don't have to re-go through that nightmare again. But, moving forward, unfortunately, because of the way Justice League came out, I feel it's almost like it's either a beginning or an end. And if they're not going to follow through with that, then they just need to end it. And look, get Wonder Woman, kind of repurpose everything. And by moving into making Flashpoint a comedy, I think that's the wrong route.
Yeah, I mean, Kristian, if you look at the other person that they were considering reportedly is Ben Affleck, because that would have brought a much more serious vibe. It also would have brought in a lot of unnecessary questions about, well, are you still going to be Batman or not? I think it would have been just very confusing for the DCU to keep him in the director's chair but not doing a Batman movie. Mm-hmm. Would he have been the right director for this?
No, and it's nothing to do with his skills. I don't think he cares about DC or comic book movies in general right now.
He's just got a little bit of fatigue.
But I think in general right now, with just certain comments he's just made, and I think he's just kind of going through different things in his life. So as of not skill wise, he's a very talented director, and still, even though I didn't like the last one, I think the other 3 films besides that were incredible. I just don't think that that's something he wants to do right now, and that's probably ultimately why he didn't get the gig, because it just doesn't seem like when you ask him questions about Batman, it's just like, it's how many times are we going to go through the drama of is he, isn't he? I don't think we need to even visit it.
Yeah, I mean, Jay, you referenced blowing up the entire thing earlier. If Ben Affleck is going to be Batman, do you like that? If he's just going to be in the director's chair for a movie like Flash, would you prefer that? Or would you prefer him not being involved in this universe?
Not being involved at all, because you don't, like Kristian said, you don't want him. He doesn't want to be involved. He doesn't. Look, the best director they could have had initially was Rick Famuyiwa for Dope.
Oh, yeah.
They had him, and creative differences allowed him to separate. Now you're just like, whatever, we need to get this done. Because Flashpoint is there out with him. That's that. We reset the universe. We don't have to have him as Batman no more. He does this last little film. We're done. He doesn't want to be Batman. And, of course, if he doesn't want to be Batman, why would he want to sit behind the chair? Because he'll get jealous of, well, I could have been doing this. And then he's got the actor doing different things. So, no, don't even do that.
But I think besides just the fact of maybe even getting jealous, I think that Ben Affleck, when you look at his other films that he's done, whether it be Argo or Gone Baby Gone, Town, these are movies that he wants to make. These are movies that he thrives when he makes them, and that he maybe does not want to be put in that big blockbuster genre because that's not where his skills.
Yeah, it's less the tone; it's more the larger universe that you have to
Yeah.
play in that giant sandbox.
And he's also already done it twice in a more and more souring tone. So I feel like, keep hearing like DC, Warner Brothers souring on Ben Affleck. He's sour on them. Everyone's sour about it. I don't even want to see him in another Batman film. To be blunt, I don't care about him transitioning from Flashpoint into Jake Gyllenhaal. I don't care. I mean, I think he's a great actor. He's a great director. Just move on. Look at all the other people who did Batman one and done. You got George Clooney. Let's not talk about that. Val Kilmer wasn't as bad. So what? I mean, so he was Batman in 3 movies. To me, it's okay to get a different Batman. You don't have to make a Flashpoint movie. I'm kind of over the idea of a Flashpoint, especially if it's going to be a comedy. And look, we've already had that precedent with the Russo brothers. They directed Community and all these comedies, and they did one of the greatest action thrillers, Captain America: Winter Soldier. But I don't think it's the same case. I just personally feel like if you look at the work that these two guys have done together, it isn't indicative, and I'd love to be proved wrong. If I saw Flashpoint, I was like, it's amazing. I'd love that to happen if that does happen, but does it need to happen? No.
Yeah, when it's a comedy reboot that a studio wanted anyway, it's hard to pin that all on the directors, although they also did write the movie, and they're the ones calling the shots at the end of the day. But somebody who was also on the shortlist for Flashpoint was Robert Zemeckis. And if you look at what Flashpoint could be, if you want a comedic vibe, certainly nothing captured the comedic vibe of a teenager coming into their own like Back to the Future. But then Zemeckis has also done more recent work that gets dramatic, something like Flight. Yeah. I think that he would have been a great choice. These are the guys with Ben Affleck doing Flashpoint. The one thing I would say is that nobody wants to blow up the DCU more than Ben Affleck. So if Flashpoint is going to be your conduit to just resetting everything, maybe Ben Affleck would have been the best option for that job. Well, we move on to a story where there's been no director drama whatsoever. Or maybe a little bit. Ron Howard is the official director of Solo, a Star Wars story, and Disney has released the first official synopsis for the movie. Not a trailer just yet. It's a major new Star Wars movie. It's coming out in a little over 4 months as part of Disney's 2018 preview kit. The synopsis seems to tease the release of the first trailer, which should be coming any day now, with the synopsis reading, "Board the Millennium Falcon and journey to a galaxy far, far away." Jesus, this is Star Wars Land promo? Is Star Wars a solo Star Wars story, an all-new adventure with the most beloved scoundrel in the galaxy through a series of daring escapades deep within a dark and dangerous criminal underworld? Han Solo meets his mighty future co-pilot Chewbacca and encounters the notorious gambler Lando Calrissian in a journey that will set the course of one of the Star Wars saga's most unlikely heroes. Solo, a Star Wars story, releases in U.S. theaters on May 25th, 2018. Jay Washington, you are laughing. Do you think that we're learning a little bit too much about Han Solo in this movie?
This is the exact way they pitched this movie in the meeting for Disney. This is the exact wording. You can read it and be like, so what do you think this is? So hear me out. Right. We board the Millennium Falcon. Like, this is all this is. No one wanted this movie, first and foremost. And you basically just told us everything.
It's not fair to say no one wanted the movie.
Who really wanted? Did we need? Okay, better yet, did we need a Han Solo movie?
No, we did not.
We didn't need it. His origin was good for what it was. We didn't know who he was. I was telling you this before we started rolling. We've gotten to this point now. We feel like we need to give origins to things we've never had the origin to. We never needed. Han Solo, the aliens, things like that. We don't need the origins.
And that's what I'm getting at, is that one of the criticisms of the prequels is that we saw Darth Vader as a kid, or we saw the skeleton of the Death Star. We saw all these things before they really became what we loved about them in the classic trilogy. Kristian, when you read the synopsis yesterday, as soon as it came out, as the host of Jedi Council, are we going to learn too much about Han Solo?
Well, to the first part is, I don't think we learned too much in that synopsis. But I do think that
no,
I think that the way the synopsis was written was not very well, or not very good. It does seem like something you would read it like you said, like you go to Star Wars World, and you see, join us for an adventure, or it's something like you read in the Legends book.
Yeah, there's two uses of the word journey, which is like, hey,
so we get it. We're going
on
on
the
easy.
Millennium Falcon. Don't stop believing in Journey.
But I mean, they bring Ron Howard in. And they even announced him at Golden Globes that this is a Ron Howard movie now. He directed the film. It's not a co-director. He directed the film. For, you believe all the rumors, which I do, it's like 90% of the movie. It's reshot. It's his film, and I want to see what he's able to do. I agree with Jay that I don't think anybody called for this movie, but I don't think that means that we just right away should stand stamp our feet and go, I'm not going to watch it because we didn't need it. Because what happens if Ron Howard is able to pull the ultimate magic trick and make this? I was talking to Ken yesterday. I happen to think that this is not going to be the best Star Wars movie, and financially it'll probably be the worst.
Why is that? Is that because of the reshoots? Is that
I
because
think
we
there's a
haven't
lot.
seen a trailer yet?
I mean, I think there's a lot. I mean, we covered it a little bit on Jedi, but I think that there's right now, fans in general have this kind of civil war going on in Star Wars. It's like
I've noticed.
It is. It's like you either liked The Last Jedi or you felt that it was completely against the saga and you hated it. You could either there's one side of that hate that has said I don't like it and I'm gonna just stay away from it. I don't care if you liked it, great. And then there's the other side just like if you like that Star Wars, then you're not a real Star Wars fan. And then the other side, there's two people on the like side. There's the one like side, the same thing, and then there's the other one's like well, if you didn't like it, you're not a Star Wars fan. It's a silly thing.
Right.
But then we get to a new Star Wars movie coming out 5 months later. The question is how much of that spillover is it gonna affect it at all? The other thing is a matter of the movie in general, like Jay was saying. No one was screaming for this movie. And the other problem was that it comes out 2 weeks later or 3 weeks later after Avengers, which is going
And
to
the week after Deadpool 2 now.
Right. So both of those movies are going to be, I mean, Deadpool 2 is going to do tremendous, and Infinity War is going to be the biggest grossing movie of the year. So it's going to, financially, it's going to take a hit. But what I hope happens, my fingers crossed moment is that you see this kid knocks it out of the park and you believe, okay, wait a minute, that is a young Han Solo. I can deal with it. Because you're going to learn how he got the Falcon. You're going to learn how he met Lando. You're going to learn all these things. Do I care? Do I want to know? And am I going to be happy at the end of it going, you know what? They put together a good movie.
Is that the risk, though, Schnepp, is that we learned too much about Han that we didn't want to know? When we meet him in A New Hope, it's one of the coolest scenes in the movie because he's just this mysterious smuggler, pirate, bounty hunter kind of guy. And we don't know where he came from, but we know he's had some Imperial, and he wants to avoid Imperial entanglements.
Right.
So are we pulling the veil back a little too far with this movie?
Solo. Absolutely not. Yamadosa Solo. Look, man, since a little kid, I wanted to see the Kessel Run story. I wanted to see that come to life, and that's what we're going to get. I guarantee you we're going to see him beat that thing in how many parsecs?
12.
Thank you.
Sorry.
You know, look, I don't have any problem with the Solo, prequels. When it starts to get into like Yoda and things like that, I'm like, well, it depends on what they do. I mean, Yoda, how old is Yoda?
900.
There we go. 900 years. He's got a lot of history.
In this movie, he'll be about 850.
Technically.
Right.
Yeah, so look, you know what? I mean, they've already done that stuff with like Yoda meeting Chewbacca in those prequels. I personally think The Last Jedi is the closest Star Wars film to the original Star Wars. I think it brings the Force back to everybody. There's so many great things about The Last Jedi. I've had so much fun arguing with people, and they'd bring up a specific point, and I'd flip it on them so hard. So for myself, I love The Last Jedi. I think Solo, for me, I'm really looking forward to it. I think that's this is one of those films that can actually help turn around a lot of people who are like, why are they making this Solo movie? Well, because there's a lot of rich history in the Star Wars universe that we haven't seen cinematically, and I feel if they do it right, and getting someone like Ron Howard, he's a great director. So I have good faith in him, but more importantly, getting the script directed right, and it's written by Lawrence Kasdan, one of the better Star Wars writers. So for myself, and also Indiana Jones, so give me a break. I mean, if I have to really think that hard about it, I'm like, this film is the one I'm actually really looking forward to seeing.
Does a Solo film actually, in a weird way, act as a palate cleanser for Star Wars fans who are just tired of the arguing back and forth over whether they loved or hated or somewhere in the middle, or the great Jedi of The Last Jedi? Because this movie does not involve lightsabers by all accounts. It's not going to be Force heavy. It stars a guy who does not even believe in the Force when this movie comes out. So, Jay, maybe from that perspective, this is just a fun movie that takes place in outer space. We don't need to worry about all that other stuff.
I think that could be true, and I go back to what Kristian was saying, was where you have this civil war, this half and half of fans, because there are some who are going to want that somehow, some way, some type of Force recognition in it, some type of lightsaber somewhere. They're going to want those little elements that you're used to in a Star Wars film, and because you won't get that in this Solo film, some may be upset. Now, if it goes that route where you get these different things you find out about and you didn't know, and like I agree with Schnepp, there's the things you go into that are deeper into the history, into the culture, into the backstory of Solo, then yeah, and if the kid can pull it off, it's going to be a great film then. So,
yeah, I mean, I agree with him. I think that you could have those moments in Star Wars that it could feel. It doesn't necessarily have to. It doesn't need to have the Force. It doesn't need to have lightsabers.
But I
Han
mean, I
Solo.
think that might actually be an attribute to this movie that it doesn't have any of that stuff.
I agree with you, but what I mean is that one of the big things from the fans about Last Jedi is that it was so different from every other Star Wars movie, and not being a rehash of, say, what people had the problem with Last Jedi. Force Awakens. But I mean, something to if they sit down now, these fans who had the problem with the tone of Last Jedi, and they go and they see that, wow, Ron Howard just made it feel like this is the Star Wars, this is the galaxy I wanted. It could help it. I don't know. I'm so. It's that trailer though. The trailer's everything.
You seem to know people that have met people that go to Skywalker Ranch once or twice a year, perhaps. Do you know when we're going to see a trailer?
I have no idea. If I was to guess, and this is
because you texted me on Sunday and you said, "Hey Ellis, get ready for
there was a rumor.
Get ready on Monday."
That was not me. That was a rumor that was floating around on the internet, and I said, I hope that they don't put it on the holidays, so we're not going to be able to talk about it. And plus the fact that there was just a lot going on that day that I was hoping that it didn't drop on Monday, and it didn't. I think that it's going to drop either the end of this week or next week, because you'll drop it before the Super Bowl. You'll have a little spot during the Super Bowl, and then that trailer that they show, the long one, will be the one that airs right before Black Panther.
Yeah, I'm not panicking if I don't see a trailer this week, but I think it should happen before the Super Bowl, and then you can have a spot during the Super Bowl as well. The one thing I need to see in the trailer, I don't need anything given away. The one thing I need to see, Alden Ehrenreich needs to talk. He needs to talk. I need him to say something, because you can't just look like Han Solo. You got to sound enough like Han Solo to get us to buy into this
But that's
movie.
the tricky thing, though, because I think that if you get somebody like an Anthony and Gruber, or
to do the voiceover.
No, but like Jamie Costa or someone like that was cast in. Then you would be expecting them to sound like, because when you look at what Anthony and Gruber did in Age of Adeline, right, he was pretty much sounding like Harrison Ford as much as looking like him. Right. I don't know if you want to risk that with Alden Ehrenreich.
I'm not saying do an impression. What I'm saying is that you have to have that.
I know what you're saying. I agree with you. He's got to feel like Han Solo.
Right.
There's a difference though between because if he starts trying to do an impression of Han Solo and it sucks, he's doing the Chewie. No.
I don't think he's going. I don't think he's going to be his own guy.
I think he is too.
I'm just looking forward to seeing that kind of back and forth between him and Lando. I think he's a scoundrel. He's known as kind of a scummy dude. He's untrustworthy in Star Wars. I want to see why he became that guy. Like, he's already dealing with Jabba, doing like bad things. He probably screwed Lando over and stole the Millennium Falcon. That's why Lando was like, "Aha, I got you, son," in Bespin. So I mean, like, when you think about it, it's like there's all these cool story elements that who knows if they're going to be in there. But knowing Lawrence Kasdan, he's mining that.
Yeah, there's been a lot of great comments on the Solo story, on our previous story about Flashpoint, and about my apparel today. The best one I've seen so far is that I have a tub of moonshine waiting for me in the back of the Collider video. Don't worry, buddy. I will give Sandra Bullock a call as soon as we're done here. In the meantime, we're moving on to Agree or Disagree, and our first topic is focused on a new trailer that just dropped for a movie that's going to be premiering at Sundance later this year. That is from Amazon Studios. It's Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot. Written, directed by Gus Van Sant. The film is based on the memoir of the same name by cartoonist, artist, and musician John Callahan. Joaquin Phoenix plays Callahan, who becomes a quadriplegic in a car accident at the age of 21 after a day of drinking. The film also stars Jonah Hill, Rooney Mara, and Jack Black. Its official theatrical release is going to be on May 11th. Kristian, after watching this trailer, Joaquin Phoenix, are we looking at another Oscar nom? Agree or disagree?
I'm gonna. Oh man, it's tough. I'm only gonna disagree because it comes out in May.
It's a Sundance movie too.
It is a Sundance movie, but I'm not gonna go heavy with the disagree, because I think it's very possible that this could be one of those movies that. Well, remember that what he did in May. Joaquin Phoenix should. That movie crushed it, and you have someone like Gus Van Sant and the cast that have. The trailer is pretty bizarre, and it looks like a movie that only Joaquin Phoenix could do. Right. So I think that it's a movie that I'm looking forward to, because I think that teaming alone. But anytime something comes out before September, it's very tough to secure a nomination. It's been done, has been done, will be done this year, but it's tough. So I always bet against it, even though maybe it's Joaquin Phoenix and you shouldn't bet against him.
From this cast, is he the one that you would take as your front runner for an Oscar?
Yeah, I need to see the movie. Gus Van Sant, if the movie really delivers and it's a film that, again, if Van Sant does such a great job directing, he's another one I say it's going to be tough because he's got to hold off all these other directors once they come out in September through December.
Yeah, it seems like the flood of directors, but really, I mean, look, Jay, you have movies that have come out earlier in the year, and I'm going to go back to Get Out and Logan that came out way back in February that might be Oscar contenders. Is this going to be that kind of movie? Is Joaquin Phoenix the one, or do you see somebody else rising up?
I could see a Jonah Hill again, but it all depends on how it resonates with people. We talked about Get Out and Logan all throughout the year. We constantly kept talking about it. We kept them in the theaters as long as possible. Just because a film like it's Sundance doesn't mean we'll talk about it that long. So it depends on how much the discussion behind this goes. How strong is that performance by Joaquin Phoenix, by Jack Black, by Rooney Mara, by Jonah Hill? How strong are their performances to the point where we're like, man, do you remember that one scene where he first learned how to draw? Where you captivate. If things like that happen, then yeah, come Oscar nomination time next year, you can see that.
Yeah, Schnepp, you watched this trailer. Do you agree with Jay that Jonah Hill should be the Oscar contender of this movie?
It's one for the hair, though. Just the hair.
Just for the hair alone. You know what? I'll disagree with all you. I don't care about the Oscar thing. I just want it to be a good movie.
Yeah.
I mean, the trailer to me made me excited to see the film. It looks like a poignant, heartwarming, and funny and harsh look at this man's life who became a quadriplegic. Check out his artwork. That's all I can implore. Anybody who's watching this, John Callahan, look at his, don't worry, he won't get far on foot, is literally guys with a wheelchair hunting a dude down as the wheelchair is empty. He makes fun of himself, and he's so politically incorrect in all of his cartoons. I was laughing this entire morning. I looked him up and just like went through, it's like a Far Side of the most politically incorrect stuff, and it's all really dark humor. It all comes from him, so it made me really appreciate that. You don't see any of that in this trailer, but man, do yourself a favor, John Callahan, just look it up, laugh out loud, because you will. And for myself, I mean, I think it's not only all these actors and actresses, an incredible cast. Gus Van Sant, when he has the right material, his films can be incredible. So to me, I'm looking forward to a great film, and then by then, you're right, if it's a great film and all of us, I think it might have that resonance to carry through for the months that it needs to get to the Oscars.
Well, do you guys agree or disagree that the guy in the top left stole Jared Leto's look and probably the role?
That's your fat Jesus right there. That's exactly what Galifianakis was supposed to be.
He was, Callahan was based in mainly in Port, and he passed away in 2010. But Schnepp brings up a bonus agree or disagree. We're going to go quickly here. I am going to say that The Far Side by Gary Larson is the greatest comic of all time. As far as like comic strips go, agree or disagree?
I disagree only because I haven't read it.
You've never read The Far Side?
Not really. I'm very aware of it, but I never really read it.
Wow.
Sorry.
I know who's getting a giant Christmas book this
Nice.
Christmas.
Yeah, you agree?
No, I disagree. As far as a one panel,
Yeah. Or
I'm going to say Matt
Garfield
Groening's Life in Hell is my favorite one panel of all time. As far as my favorite comic strip, it's got to be You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown, Snoopy, whatever you want to call it. I can't remember that, but I remember loving that as a kid. That and Garfield were like formative cartoons as a little kid.
Garfield was pretty great. Garfield might be a close second for me, Jay. You seem like a family circus guy.
Marmaduke.
Curtis was mine. It was a little black kid. Curtis was
remember
mine.
Curtis, yeah.
Curtis was mine. Curtis and even Nancy was mine. And I'm sitting over here looking at John Callahan drawing.
Right?
Yo, this is some stuff. Yeah, we can't put this up.
A lot of it was controversial too because he
It
became
very
a
much
legend in
is.
Portland, but then he also became very divisive because his animations were so politically incorrect. So I do encourage everybody to take a page out of Jay's book and go Google Callahan right now and then check out the trailer that we just talked about. We're going to move on to an image that dropped. Ant-Man and the Wasp is coming out in theaters this July, I believe the first weekend in July, and Disney released its 2018 preview kit, the one that had the solo thing in there too. They teased their upcoming slate of films, and we had the first official look at Hope Van Dyne alongside Scott Lang in Ant-Man and the Wasp. Paul Rudd and Evangeline Lilly reprised their roles in the movie alongside Michael Pena and Michael Douglas. It's also going to introduce Hope's mother, played by Michelle Pfeiffer. Peyton Reed is directing the movie, and once again, July 6, 2018. Jon Schnepp, I'm going to ask you to take a little bit of a leap of faith. I think Ant-Man and the Wasp is going to be one of the 5 biggest movies box office wise to open this summer. It's right smack dab in the middle of July. Do you agree or disagree with that sentiment?
5 biggest movies of this summer, not
the
counting
summer.
like the next couple months or year. You're
Summer.
just saying summer.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you know, if you're going to scrimp it into the summer, possibly, yeah, I can see that for sure. I'm looking forward to this film. I love the original Ant-Man. I think the costumes look great. It just feels like look, more of the same sometimes isn't bad, especially when, look, like I would love to see an Ant-Man television series. I'm greedy. I want like 10 episodes. So, if we only get like 90 minutes every like 3 years for the next like 10 years, I guess they're going to possibly do an Ant-Man 3 if this one pops off. So, yeah, they look great.
Would Ant-Man be the one that you would rather see as a TV series over a movie, or are you happy that we get the movies?
No, I'm greedy. I want all of them to be. I want 20 hours of everything. I'm not talking about just Ant-Man, I'm greedy. Yeah.
Jon Schnepp, a very greedy human being indeed. Is this movie going to be greedy to the point where it gets top 5 summer?
Top 5 summer is possible. I mean, I think the first one did really good, but I think it was by Marvel standards wasn't great. But I think that it's kind of built on time that people have really started to enjoy it. It ties in a lot more. Marvel is coming off of Thor, which that sequel did better than the previous sequel. So I do think in top summer movies, yes. All for the entire year, no. I think that again, when you have Infinity War, Jurassic World, Solo. I mean, what are the really huge contenders?
Another movie that I think is going to be in direct competition with Ant-Man and the Wasp for comic book movie dollars is Aquaman. James Wan's Aquaman.
Deadpool 2. Don't forget about Deadpool.
Aquaman is December.
And you're going to have a
Aquaman's
couple
December.
huge animated movies.
Aquaman is December.
Yeah, that's way out.
That's Christmas. I don't know why.
That's not summer.
You got to read your papers, kid.
I got to read the headlines I'm throwing
Here,
at
who?
you.
Mark just got. Ezra
Jay
Tails,
Walker,
he's
how do you feel
fired.
about this movie's
He's
chances this summer?
fired.
I like it. I think it's good. It's going to piggyback right off of Infinity War, which is the biggest thing that could happen for this film. The original Ant-Man was a shock. Nobody really, you're like, okay, Paul Rudd, we're going to get some comedy. We know that. But nobody expected it to be as good as it was. The relationship with Paul Rudd and Michael Douglas was amazing. Yeah. Evangeline Lilly did her thing. And you got all this together, and now you see the new suits, first and foremost. You're like, okay, they're going further into it. I think, again, top 5 of the summer, yes. I don't think it'll hold for the year. Maybe top 10,
right?
But not top 5 for the year, but top 5 of the summer.
I think one of the unsung hero of the whole thing, to be honest with you, is Peyton Reed. Because because Peyton Reed, when you look at what he went through, first of all, Adam McKay, you go to Edgar Wright, who was everybody's hero and everybody wanted him to do this movie. He doesn't do the movie anymore. There's the big stink. What's going to happen? Then Adam McKay, and this is before The Big Short. Everyone's like, Adam McKay, very similar to what we were just talking about with the Spider-Man, the Flash story. And it's a matter of, Adam McKay can't do it. Get him out of here. And Adam McKay's like, you know what? Hell with this. I'm going to go do The Big Short. Enter Peyton Reed, who a lot of people don't realize this. It was between Peyton Reed and James Gunn to do Guardians of the Galaxy. Peyton Reed just missed it. And then they had him on, and he is an Ant-Man fan and understands that this isn't just a guy who's just making these movies to make the movies. Right. He loves Ant-Man. He loves what he's able to do. He continued to do these movies as long. I think him to Ant-Man is what, again, James Gunn is to Guardians of the Galaxy. They both care about the movies very much, and I think you're going to get a really good product out of it. And if they can secure the same type of humor, adding the same type of emotion, and putting a really cool kind of crime element that they did last time, just little heist stuff, Ant-Man 2 can not only be a good summer blockbuster hit as far as money goes, critically it could be really good too.
I also want to see Peyton Reed take over Fantastic Four. He was originally going to direct that.
Oh, really?
Which one?
The Fox one, right?
Yeah, way earlier. It was like in the 90s.
Oh, really?
He was doing a 1960s version of the Fantastic Four. So check it out. Look it up. You could do all that stuff. But and he's a giant sweaty. So to me, I was like, wow, he's finally getting to do a comic book movie with Ant-Man. And so I feel like if this is a big hit, they're going to be like, by the way, here's Fantastic Four. So like for Phase 4, they're going to give it to him.
Fun, tasty nuggets.
Do you think they're going to do the Michael Pena? He talked to this person, they talked to this person, they talked to this person
hope
again.
so.
They have to do it because that was one of the best parts of that movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, Michael Pena was so good in that movie.
Twice.
T.I. was so good in that movie. Like, I want to see everybody back and actually have a meaty role because they just work so well together. It's a fun heist movie. I think we're going to get more with Ant-Man and the Wasp, and then Michelle Pfeiffer. What's that backstory going to be? Do we actually find her in that thing? Like, as we get towards the micro whatever universe or however we got hints of it in the last movie. I hope to see more of that.
Well, I think so also because if you look at it, it's clearly called Ant-Man and the Wasp. We got a lot of Paul Rudd's story last time. This is going to be more focusing on the story of Evangeline. Thank you, Evangeline. I'm turning to JTE, but I think Evangeline Lilly and watching her story and everything. They set that up so very well in the first one. Now they get to pay it off in the second.
New trailer for Love, Simon is our last agree or disagree. 20th Century Fox just released it. It's the movie based on on Becky Albertalli's novel. Greg Berlanti's film follows 17-year-old Simon Spire, played by Nick Robinson, who is currently grappling with how to tell his family and friends that he's gay while also working to identify an anonymous classmate he's fallen for online. The film is set for release on March 16th. Jay, I think that this movie has all of the signs, all of the tea leaves pointing to it being the coming-of-age movie of the year. Do you agree with that?
Yes, because Greg Berlanti has been doing this on TV for about 5-6 years now. He's been doing it with all his Arrowverse shows. He makes sure he has that one person who has to come out, has to identify, and has to find love. We're dealing with it now in Supergirl. So for him now to take what he does on a small screen into a full feature-length film and use one of his stars in Kenyon Lonsdale, of course he knows what he's doing. And definitely this is going to be that coming-of-age movie for this year.
Yeah, Greg Berlanti behind it. Christian, you just checked out the trailer for it. I think both trailers have been fantastic. This is our coming-of-age movie this year?
Could be. I mean, it could be our perks of being a wallflower, and it had that tone. Absolutely. I think it's one of the producers anyway from it, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. But the Greg Berlanti, like Jay was talking about, he's done this before. He clearly this is a project that he's passionate about, wants to bring to the big screen. The cast involved is pretty good. So I think we could get a really endearing movie with this thing. When does it come out?
March 16th.
March 16th. So March is a good spot for these movies. Like March is one of those things that's like, oh, we tried for it or we missed, or it's like, oh yeah, that movie that came out in March, we remember it. Like Logan came out in March, you know, obviously very different in tone, but I'm just saying, like, there are times that like 300 came out in March. There are movies that come out in March sometimes that really capture the audience, and this could be the one, but this time in the coming of age genre.
That's right. Logan came out in March. We got Kong Skull Island in March. We got Beauty and the Beast. It was a pretty good March last year. Yeah. Is this going to be our coming-of-age movie that we remember from 2018?
Seems that way from the trailers. I mean, the trailers are definitely give me that feeling of awkwardness in high school, and I mean all those elements of this character and these things that he's having to go through. And coming from Greg Berlanti, you're right, with the CW universe, even Crisis on Earth X, they were able to fit in a lot of cool storylines that across all types of relationships. So I feel like this is a film that needs to be seen and needs to be made, and also something that shouldn't be like awkwardly independent. It feels like this is like a Hollywood version of a coming out story, which is great.
I'm glad you brought that point up, because it's the same thing that Call Me by Your Name did, where like I don't identify with everything that this teenager is going through, but that movie where he's falling in love with an older man in Italy, I've never been in any of those situations, yet I felt very similar to the emotional struggle that he's going through in that movie, and I think we could get the same kind of thing from this, which is important if it's a coming of age movie, Jay. We want to see a version of ourselves when we were that age going through it.
Even though it may not be with him coming out being gay, you have somebody you're anonymously falling for, and you're like, who is this person? Because now you share a bond.
Right.
And that's what this is, and that's what people will resonate with, whether you're in that type of situation or not. People now, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, all social media, people meet people who they don't even know their real face by an avatar, but they're connected to them.
Yeah, I think the other thing that we should also be talking about is not only is this a movie that could be the coming age film of the year, it could also be the most important film of the year. Because if you look from whether it's social media, growing up today, you know, in general, it's easier. It's easier than it was, say, 50 years ago to be a gay teenager growing up.
Right.
It's still not easy, and it is a matter of, you know, how today it is for kids. And there should be some kid in the middle of the country who sees this movie, goes out and checks it out. Maybe he has not come out yet.
Right.
And he goes and he sees this movie and he says, you know, wait a minute. This is what I want to do. And he gets the strength, or he or she gets the strength to go out then. And this could be a very important film depending on how it's handled.
I love that point, because it's like you're talking about it normalizing it, which it should be normal by this point in
this
time.
point.
By 2018, it should be normal,
and
but it's
some
not,
places,
so.
see, we live in a place to where in LA it's very progressive, obviously.
Yeah.
There are other places that still obviously have not, will not accept. So hopefully more movies like this, more things to where people will have the courage and to want to come out, to want to see this kid, to see this movie, like you said, normalizing it. And it could be a very important film, similar to what Wonder Woman did for a lot of women last year. This movie could do the same thing.
And to your point, you have to have more films that are like this, not just that one coming of age.
100%.
You know, you can't just have that one for the year and be like, look, we did it, and that's it. You should have more, because again, it's a bigger thing where, like you said, it's 2018 now. If people are born gay, this is the way they are. So we have to accept this, and people are having a hard time accepting it because a lot of places in the world don't. Like you said, those Midwestern towns, they're kids who like, if I tell anybody, this could go bad.
It might be a nice shot in the arm, a 1-2 punch, because if Call Me by Your Name does well at the Oscars, and then
Yes.
this movie comes out a couple weeks later,
But here's the difference,
a much
though.
needed boost.
Sorry, but yes, because the mainstream attention to Call Me by Your Name,
Sure.
but the difference between this movie and Call Me by Your Name now, the reason Call Me by Your Name is getting so much attention is because of the Oscars and stuff. But it did not have a wide release. It did not a lot of people. This is a mainstream film.
Right.
Yeah.
This is a
Call Me by
mainstream.
Your Name is a foreign type of
It
independent
is.
art film.
You're 100%
This is a
right.
mainstream
Yeah,
film.
You're
Yeah.
100% right as far as the media attention and more importance. But the difference between those two films, this is a movie, and from the guy who's directing it, who's very involved in the superhero genre, to direct to this movie, to put this out in mainstream with the mainstream cast that it does have, it's different in that the money that the studio is putting behind it is, again, importance.
Also, Berlanti is a member of the LGBT community. So for him being a part of it, it's personal to him as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
So-
and he's also done a great job with all the Arrowverse things of just normalizing. it.
Yes.
I know it's superheroes and things like that, but it's okay. They don't make a big deal.
It's
about
just
somebody
what it
who's
is. It just go.
homosexual, lesbian. It's just that's how it is.
It just go,
And
yeah.
That's just black, white, whatever. That's how our society should be, and we should like make sure haters and racists are the ones that you're like, look, they have problems. We need to help them. We shouldn't you know what I'm saying? I think by normalizing these things because they just simply are normal, that'll help eradicate the people who are afraid to just stop hating.
Very well said. A lot of interesting movies from a lot of different perspectives in 2018. Whether it's going to be this movie, Love, Simon, or it's going to be Aquaman, or it's going to be Ant-Man and the Wasp, or the most important movie of 2018, you guessed it, Jason Statham versus the Giant Shark in The Meg. We're going to move on to Collider Mailbag, and then I want to remind you guys we're going to take some live Twitter questions. Start tweeting us at Collider Video. You can hashtag Collider Movie Talk. That helps me find it. Although I'm a news kid, I can find my way around a headline. Jon Schnepp, we got heroes later on today. What's on tap?
Well, I'm going to definitely clarify some of these Spider-Man Venom things that I talked about yesterday. There's a little bit more that I'll reveal. So just everyone, especially people who've been doubting stuff, I'm going to slam them pretty hard because hey, it's okay. You don't have to believe me, but guess what? Whatever. So yeah, I'm going to go into that and a ton of other news. So it'll be a lot of fun. Heroes.
Everybody tune into that. Make sure you guys subscribe right here to Collider Video. Hopefully you gave your panelists a little bit more of a heads up because we knew about 2 minutes in advance of going live yesterday. Jon Schnepp has a scoop about Venom. The floor is yours. It was a whole lot of fun. I appreciate you being here, good sir. On our mailbag today is a great question. I want everybody's input because it's about movies being re-released in theaters. What do we want to see? It comes from Chris, and he says, if you could choose any 3 movies from any year and any genre to be re-released into theaters, which would you choose? He's going with the original cut of The Empire Strikes Back. Oh, no additional Wampa. The Godfather and Lawrence of Arabia. The first movie on my list, because he said Lawrence of Arabia, I do want to see one of those like classic movies that was made to be not just on the big screen, but I remember my dad telling me he was a kid and he saw movies in like CinemaScope that was like kind of surrounding. I want to see the 10 Commandments that way. That's the movie
I was
he
just
saw.
thinking, that was
and
mine.
I want to see what that presentation was like. So I'm going to go way back into the machine and go 10 Commandments.
That was
And then
mine.
I'll probably pick some more modern movies. Jay Washington, which way you leaning if I already stole 10 Commandments
Well,
from you?
because you stole mine with that vest, I believe you'd steal more things.
You can go History of the World Part 1 and you can see the different 10
We'll
Commandments.
meet you at the Speakeasy.
You want to get a soda pop down at the apothecary?
Here, I got a list for you. So the 3 movies I want to see re-released: Terry Gilliam's Brazil, Stanley Kubrick's 2001, Jodorowsky's The Holy Mountain, which I just saw this past weekend. Those are films that need to be seen in the cinema. They need to be seen giant screen so you can just get absorbed into those alternate worlds. And a couple runners up: George Miller's The Road Warrior, Coppola's Apocalypse Now, Nolan's Dunkirk, Kubrick's Clockwork Orange, Scorsese's Goodfellas. All of those films are cinematic achievements for different reasons, but they're elevated when you're in a theater. And it's a different experience when you're at home. They could be distracted by, I got to go to the bathroom. Someone walks in front of you. The phone rings. You're checking your Twitter, whatever. It's like you don't want to be distracted. When you go to see a movie, you are inside that film.
I like the 2001 A Space Odyssey call a lot. Kristian Harloff?
Godfather 2, Sicario would be one for sure. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Definitely.
I always pick that one. Empire Strikes Back, though, I would absolutely do that. I think,
You're going original, right?
well, I'll tell you what. Out of the special editions,
I like the Wamp. I like the other Wampa scene when he's just like eating that huge chicken
the
bone.
special editions. Empire Strikes Back came out the best. I think
Yes.
out of all of the special editions, that it actually was improved.
Yeah, the
It's-
least muddled with.
Yeah.
They added a couple of Bespin things.
They cleaned
I
up some
love the best
effects.
ones. They didn't meddle with the story at all, so I enjoyed that one. So I would be okay with either version coming up. I think the entire Lord of the Rings, the first all 3 of the original movies, I would watch in kind of big, huge IMAX. I would love to see that.
Okay, I can't remember where we went wrong, but I just took the 10 Commandments, then I kicked it to Jay, and then these guys just took like 20 other
I know,
movies,
but
so
I didn't say
I'm very-
anything.
We're greedy.
apologize.
Because I'm new here. I'm new here, so I just let this happen, okay? I just said, you know what? I'm going to just take my time and just think about my movies.
Now that we've taken all of your movies,
Just literally all of them. I will take Saving Private Ryan again.
Yep.
To see that one again. The original Jurassic Park. There was something about seeing that in theaters.
We just saw it again a couple months ago. We had that screening, and you're absolutely right.
The
Somebody
quad
see it.
video screening for Jurassic Park and Back to the Future, both. If you ever get a chance to see them on the big screen, take the ticket.
And for me, this is a personal one. Y'all don't judge me. The Best Man Holiday. I have never cried so much at the theater watching a bunch of grown men dance to their wives to New Edition's Can You Stand the Rain, okay? It was just emotional, and I was by myself in that theater because I didn't have nobody at the time. I was going through a rocky part of a relationship, but it's okay. We're going to make it. But no, The Best Man Holiday, because the sounds and the colors and everything you saw with it in the theater brought that emotion to you. So it'd definitely be my third film.
Yeah, I might take I'm just very interested to see movies that I didn't get a chance to explore more when they were in a theater. I saw Mad Max Fury Road twice. Love to go back and revisit that. Something like that in a theater. And then you brought up Terry Gilliam's Brazil. I'm going to go further back with Terry Gilliam, and I'm going to say the other guys that he used to hang around with occasionally, Monty Python and the Holy Grail, because there's nothing better than seeing the funniest movie of all time in a theater with other people that are just laughing hysterically. The movie will have you on the floor before you even see the first frame. Yep. It's just that good.
well, seeing a movie, last one, but I mean, if it's a matter of not just, because I think everyone's been taking ones as far as re-releasing in theaters to see what it would look like on the screen. If there was a guarantee crowd of 400 to 500 people in the theater watching it, I would take Hot Shots Part 1.
Hot Shots Part 1.
Dude, just for
yes.
and if they just showed the Lloyd Bridges scenes, I would be fine.
That's it.
It's just the Lloyd Bridges scene, but also one of the best gut punches that they used in the promotional material a lot is when Charlie Sheen drops the bomb on Saddam Hussein and he's eliminated, and then he catches the bomb.
Yeah.
Part
It's just
two was
such a
good,
great
too.
visual
But
gag.
one had some of the best lines. What I wouldn't be, it'd be 20 years younger and a woman.
The Naked Gun. We got to do that. We do that. The
gonna
Naked
say,
Gun.
yeah.
Just the opening montage with the police siren going through
Yeah.
everything.
If we're going with those, I'm going Young Frankenstein. Because
Oh,
that's
yeah,
like,
man.
I saw that in theater, and it's really still everybody laughing, you know?
You just do not get spoof movies like that anymore. Maybe it's because of the age we are, or maybe it's just because they're not making them as good. I caught Top Secret on TV the other day, and it's just, I know a little German. He's sitting over there. That's so good.
Yeah.
Quickly, we're going to move on to one live Twitter question, then we will call it a day because I got to get back to the newsstand. We have Blue Leafs 13 is our Twitter questioner today. What trailer did you watch thinking this movie is going to be horrible? But then you watch the movie and it ended up being quite good and entertaining. This happened with Blue Leafs 13 when he saw the trailer for Babysitter, was not impressed. Then he watched the Babysitter on Netflix and ended up having a pretty good time with it. Bad trailer, good movie. I'm going to kick off here and I'm going to take another comedy that had me rolling in the theater. Maybe the hardest I've ever laughed in a movie theater was the first Ace Ventura Pet Detective. I remember when the movie was coming out and I was a little kid and I love Jim Carrey and I love the entire cast of In Living Color and I knew Fire Marshal Bill was doing this movie. None of the promotional things made me laugh at all. And so the night, me and my buddy Doug, Doug, we were about to go to the movies, and I was like, no, I want to see Blue Chips. Blue Chips was opening. Nick Nolte, Shaq, Penny Hardaway. I want to see the basketball movie. And he's like, no, let's go see the In Living Color guy. He's the white guy from In Living Color. He's really funny. I'm like, all right, fine, we'll go see Ace Ventura. And it changed my entire life to this day. Kristian Harloff?
Edge of Tomorrow.
Oh,
The Edge of
good
Tomorrow
one, yeah.
trailer was not good. The
Yeah, with that
marketing-
weird
all of
music.
it.
You know,
It was terrible. And I remember when we sat down for the screening, and I was just like, this is going to be like that crappy Oblivion. I'm like, God, is this where it feels?
right, Oblivion,
I was like, this is where it feels like work. And we left. That was awesome.
Yeah.
Like not good. That was awesome. And the trailer did not sell that movie of what it could be at all.
It definitely did not. I'll go with Paddington because I was even cracking on it. Like when the first trailer came out, I was like, "This looks like one of those CG garbage live action family films that I hate." I was so wrong. I mean, the movie is a beautiful, amazing family film, a film for everyone. And I fell in love with that little bear. I even had marmalade afterwards. I was like, "This isn't that bad." Thanks, Paddington.
Jay Washington, a trailer didn't impress you, the movie did.
I still don't know where to get marmalade from.
I will hook you up.
Please do.
He makes it in his basement.
Somewhere in South America, that's where he got hooked on the stuff the first place, right?
Steph, what you doing? Just making marmalade today. Just making
Ellis is coming over.
When you
Got a
speak of,
marmalade moonshine.
He's got a couple of newspapers for me, see?
when you said bears, it made me think about when I first saw the commercials for Ted. I was like, this might not be good. I didn't expect it to have the heart that it had when I saw it. I was like, okay, this is Seth MacFarlane. This is going to be Family Guy-esque, but it ended up having so much heart, especially at the end when, spoiler alert, when Ted got ripped in half and you were like, oh my God, not Ted. Put it back together. Put it back together. But Ted was that movie. The trailer didn't do me justice, but then I saw it and I really enjoyed it. Now, Ted 2 is a whole nother.
We won't talk about
do
Ted
that.
That doesn't exist.
Yeah, some people are saying that Kingsman had a trailer that they didn't love. I'm hearing that there's a lot of people saying John Carter, and I would agree with that because John Carter, when it was coming out, it's like, what the hell is this movie? The movie wasn't good. It wasn't marketed right, but I actually liked the movie more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Same here. That's great call.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are going to call today here on Collider Movie Talk. I want to thank everybody behind the scenes, Cody Hall, Adam Smith, Mark Riley, and the entire crew, as well as everybody up here with me, Jay Washington, Jon Schnepp, Kristian Harloff. I am merely Mark Ellis at Mark Ellis Live. We'll see you guys tomorrow for an all-new edition of Collider Movie Talk when I will be back in the year 2018.
Bye, kids.
Hey everybody, Mark Ellis here. Thanks for watching this episode of Collider Movie Talk. You want to watch more? Then click up here, or you can click right here for more great content from Collider. And if you haven't subscribed to Collider Video, do so right now and share this vid with your friends. Thanks for watching.